For over a year, inflation has been rising sharply and is now raging to levels we haven't experienced in decades. The outcome is considerably higher prices for everything, from energy to groceries to what you pay at the pump. The Consumer Price Index, which measures how prices for goods change over time, climbed to a staggering 9.1% in June from the year prior, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. The main driver of the increase is gasoline, up nearly 60% over the past year. So how are Americans coping with these dramatic price hikes?
And that is what we are going to discuss tonight. And we invite you to join our conversation. Good evening. Welcome to this month's edition of Rural America Live with AARP. I'm Christina Loren. We want to help you whip inflation like it's 1974 and squeeze $2 out of every one with some creative tips for frugal living. We're going to cover groceries, cars, do-it-yourself projects, entertainment, and much more in our 99 ways to beat inflation. And by the time this hour is over, we hope to help you find new ways to save some serious cash. And like I said, you're a big part of this show. We have 2 questions for you tonight. First up, what is your #1 tip for saving money? And do you have a DIY savings tip to share with us? The more the merrier tonight. We want to hear from you. And you might just be a winner if you call us. We're giving away a cooler to 5 lucky on-air callers, and that includes shipping. Save you a little extra there as well. As a friendly reminder, you don't need to be a member of AARP or over the age of 50 to win, but you can only win 1 time each calendar year. Now, for those who are winners tonight, AARP will call you back to confirm your mailing address. Not tonight, but in the very near future, so stand by for that. Now, we're going to open up the phone lines. Give us a call, 877-283-7570. Join our conversation. We will go to the phones in just a moment, but first, let's welcome our friends from AARP joining us tonight. Brad Anderson, State Director for AARP Iowa, and fan favorite, we welcome back Sam Wilson, AARP State Director for Wisconsin. It's always so great to have you on the show.
It's great to be back with you on the set, Christina. Feels like home, having you back here and being with Brad.
Yes. Us meeting in person for the first time.
Yeah,
it's nice.
It's great to meet you, and I'm excited to talk about whipping inflation like it's 1974.
Yeah, I mean, we really have to figure out a way to really watch every cent, where it's going, so we can monitor where we're spending more than we were and how we can keep it in check.
That's right.
We have so much to talk about. And Sam, AARP always has some great tips. Do you have any ideas to help curb the sharp rise in prices? I know it's likely to be well received by all ages, but for our senior citizens out there, let's talk a little bit about how inflation is affecting them as they try to stretch their retirement nest egg as far as possible.
Yeah, I mean, Americans over 50, especially those on fixed incomes, right, are really struggling to figure out their savings and their spending habits and how to create that balance. And we know that's a struggle throughout life, but again, it is really pertinent to those who are on fixed incomes, so much to the point that you have a lot of folks who may have retired 2, 3, 4 years ago, and they're looking at, boy, we really thought we had this figured out. We had a plan when we retired. Maybe that income we thought we were going to have on a monthly basis isn't going to meet our needs. And so they're looking to get back to work as well. So we're struggling on both the savings and spending and some of these really important life decisions right now.
Yeah, it's tough when your dollar is just not going as far as it used to, and there's no sign of a check increase coming your way, and especially if you're on a fixed income, you only have so many choices. Yeah. So that's what we're here to help out with tonight. Brad, Americans are feeling that financial squeeze right now. Many have fallen on hard times, especially in rural America, as you probably know, coming from Iowa. When you take a look at the economic forecast ahead, it's uncertain. It's actually looking bleak when you hear from a lot of economists. What are you seeing and what are you hearing from your members in Iowa right now?
Well, what I've heard is inflation is harder on seniors because there are certain things seniors have to buy, right? They have to buy prescription drugs. They have to drive. They have to travel to those healthcare appointments. They have to do the caregiving obligations. And so right now, what they're facing is kind of a double whammy because they've seen a dip in their retirement income, and whether that's because of the stock market or potentially because the Social Security cost of living increase didn't quite keep up with the pace of inflation. And then you combine that with the fact that the cost of everything is going up, it has really had a deep impact on Iowa seniors and seniors around the country. And it's a math problem, right? I mean, you see why it has impacted millions of Americans. So what I'm hoping tonight we can do is offer some tips that help folks out, maybe stretch their dollars a little bit, and give them a little cushion to get them through these tough times.
I think that some careful planning is necessary right now on everybody's part. AARP is known for providing helpful ways to thrive on a budget. What else are we in store for tonight, Sam?
Well, this is a very special episode because we get to showcase AARP's annual 99 Ways to Save. And so if you're an AARP member, certainly you'll have seen this come in the mail. It's the AARP bulletin. It comes faithfully every month, and included this month are a lot of different ways. And when we looked at how are we going to give recommendations this year, a lot of it is going back to basics. Some years we kind of are looking at maybe it's some technology, maybe it's some DIY stuff. This year it's a combination of both because we know people have both big and small needs when it comes to saving money. So we want to do what you talked about in the cold open, which is how do you squeeze $2 out of $1? And that's really what we're going to talk about tonight. And the new twist this year as well for the show is we're going to have some helpful hints from our AARP Live team. Oh. And we're going to share those as well. So we've got some insider information to go along with our 99 Ways to Save.
Well, you have a stellar team, so I look forward to incorporating that. Yeah, that's fantastic. We want to hear your ideas as well. You're a big part of this. Give us a call at 877-283-7570 and join our conversation tonight. All right, you guys ready to get started on the list?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Where do we start?
You tell me, Sam.
I think car costs.
Let's do it.
So car costs, obviously, that's translating into energy costs, right? And in rural America, we know that folks drive more, whether it's going to school, whether it's for work, whether it's going to get groceries, whatever it may be. And so those costs are really much more impactful. Plus the fact that often the work truck is also the truck that goes to town to buy supplies and that. So we really want to focus on how we save money in this one daily thing that we need to do. So one of the things we do, you need to stop speeding up and braking so much, Christina. So do a lot more coasting is sort of the adage that we use. So all of that starting and stopping is really using a lot of gas, and you can the jackrabbit starts. That's exactly it. Yeah. So we need to change that habit, certainly. Choosing different tires. If you have tires that are old and need repair or replacement, or they're underinflated, boy, that's one area where you can really lose gas mileage very quickly. And what an easy way to fix, right? Go to your local gas station, convenience store, pop some air in there. And you can also use technology. So Brad's an expert on technology. I should be giving this to him, but I will say there are apps out there like Gas Buddy and others where you can actually check around to see what the local stations are all offering as far as prices per gallon and some other incentive cost savings that you might by visiting certain stores over another. So that's certainly one area where we can start. Car costs and energy costs are top of mind for everybody.
Absolutely. I think about rural Americans, they often make longer trips, especially if they got to go get things in town. And I think about Sam's Club as well, because boy, oh boy, a lot of people are happy to get that 50-cent reduction in price.
Amazing, right?
Yeah, it really is. I mean, if you just shop around, it can make a big difference.
Huge.
Let's keep this going. Brad, what kind of cost-saving tips do you have for us?
What I want to talk about is groceries, because I am obsessed with food efficiency, not wasting your food, and trying to save money. So what we found is over the past year, food costs have increased about 10%, and that is the highest amount that we have seen in the last 40 years. And so we've got some great way to save in the AARP bulletin. So I'm going to share a couple ideas here. Number one, Christina, plan your meals. And so last week, I threw away 24 Hawaiian rolls that had mold on them. 24, and it broke my heart. Why did I throw those Hawaiian rolls away? Because I did not have a plan for those Hawaiian rolls. So plan those meals and do it on a Friday, because that's when the circulars and the coupons come out, and they offer some great deals. And so if you make that plan on a Friday, you've got a great plan for the week, and you're going to save money and hopefully have a more efficient meal calendar. So that's number one. Number two is search before you shop. So there's this great app I downloaded. It's called Flip, F-L-I-P-P. Write that down. What it does is if you've got coupon cutters out there, it allows you to check out some coupons, clip the coupons, and it scans your local grocery stores. And so you've got the coupons there, and then you can take those coupons, make a list, and it goes right in with that plan. And so use Flip if you have a smartphone. Download that app. It's very user-friendly, and I think you're going to get a lot of benefit out of that.
Love that.
Last one is we don't want to leave money on the table, so double up on those cash back apps. The one I use, Fetch Rewards, it is incredibly easy. Last night in Nashville, I had a restaurant. I took a picture of that receipt, uploaded it into Fetch Rewards, immediately got 1,000 points. And so you get a bunch of points, then you can spend those points on things like gift cards to Walmart or Target or Amazon, but that money adds up. And so I don't know, frankly, how Fetch makes money doing this, but they do. And it's a great tool, and so you're leaving money on the table by not using an app like that, those cashback reward apps. So some great tips on how to save money and make your meal planning a little more efficient.
Absolutely. You know, I think about, though, our senior community, and sometimes they can be hesitant when it comes to apps or technology in general. So if you have an older parent, it's always a good idea to take some time to show them what's out there and show them it can be trusted. I think it's really important. I'm always helping my mom out, and she's able to save money that way. So that's fantastic. Thank you for those tips. We're going to keep this conversation going, and now it's your turn to join us. What is your #1 cost-saving tip? You're going to help a lot of people tonight by joining our conversation. We're going to pause for a quick break. When we come back, we'll be taking your calls. We'll be giving away some coolers, and we'll continue on with the 99 great ways to save from AARP. Join our conversation, 877-283-7570. We'll be right back.
Did you know the way you drive can affect your car's fuel economy? Here are 4 tips to help you save at the pump. Lighten your load and get your junk out of your trunk. All those extra items like gym bags and clothes in your car can hurt your gas mileage. Every pound counts. If it's warm in the car, don't lower your windows. Use the AC instead. Today's car engines are designed to run with the air conditioning on, unlike cars of the past. Properly inflate your tires. Look for the tire pressure chart on the inside of the driver's door. Too much air can be dangerous. Too little will decrease your gas mileage. Quick accelerations and hard braking can lower your fuel economy by nearly 30% at highway speeds and up to 40% in stop-and-go traffic. Not only is it safer, steady driving can be easy on the wallet too. For more savings tips, go to aarp.org/money.
Welcome back to Rural America Live with AARP. Joining us once again, Sam Wilson, State Director for Wisconsin, and Brad Anderson joins us. He made the trip from Iowa, where he is the AARP State Director. Now, our show tonight is aimed at helping you save money, and we want to hear from you. Call us with your #1 tip on how you save money. Maybe you have a tip for saving on entertainment or even recreational activities, which we still need, but some people, it's the first thing to go. So if you've got a tip, we would love to hear it. 877-283-7570. Give us a call. Let us know. We're going to go to the phones in just a moment. We have coolers to give away tonight to 5 lucky on-air callers. Before we get there, before we start giving away those coolers tonight, let's continue on with our conversation. We talked a little bit about how we have tips from AARP team members. We just saw Sarah Jennings. You've got a tip to share with us, right, Brad?
Well, Sarah's an icon on this show, and so she's got a lot of ideas about a lot of things, Christina. One of them is meal planning. So she's got this great tip when it comes to meal planning, and it's right here. Sarah's tip: buy chicken and beef in bulk from a big box store. For ground beef, I usually spend an hour or 2 on a weekend. Season and make a bunch of hamburger patties, then freeze, brown most of the beef, and use different seasonings to make taco meat, meat sauce for pasta, sloppy joes, etc. So if you're talking loose meat sandwiches, you are from the Midwest, and that's Sarah's tip, and I'm gonna try that at home.
It sounds delicious, huh?
That's a pro tip right there. I mean,
That's a full day's work right there.
That is. Yeah, she's got something there, I think.
I think so as well, and I love how she's supporting our American ranchers.
There you go.
Very nicely done, Sarah. Thank you for that. Okay, I believe you have our next tip to share with us, Brad.
So here's our next tip. Our next tip is about RX savings.
Ooh.
So prescription drug savings.
Important.
Very important. So these days, and it's going to come as no surprise to anybody, prescription drugs are through the roof. And so there are a lot of good ways to save. Number one is Good RX. Christina, I had a prescription last week for my daughters, $25. I used Good RX. How much did I pay for that? 8 cents.
Wow.
So
that's huge.
I'm not sure how Good RX works either, but it does work.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you that right now. So if you don't use Good RX, you should be using it to save money. Number two is Optum Perks. And so Optum Perks is great because this works at local pharmacies as well as pharmaceutical chains across the United States. Now, there's no membership required for Optum Perks. This is the official prescription discount program of AARP, but you don't need to be a member of AARP to use it. So Optum Perks is another great way to save money on prescription drugs. And finally, we've got Single Care. So families can enjoy up to 80% off of retail prices when you use Single Care. And then you get additional savings for refills. And then they've got a mobile app, and you can get additional savings for future prescription drugs. So there are a lot of ways to save on prescription drugs. And finally, I do want to put a plug in for AARP because we work every day and in every state across the country to try and get Congress to finally lower the cost of prescription drugs. We're hard at it right now, and we're hoping to see something happen on that front.
It sounds like some headway might be being made right now, so keep at it. Keep
fingers crossed.
Yeah, knock on some
huge.
wood if there's some nearby.
Yeah, but I like hearing it coming up in the news more frequently.
Yes.
It's fantastic. Oh, you know, affordability, it's become such an issue. Some people decide not to take their medications, and that's a very scary thought. So I really appreciate those tips. We're going to go to the phones now. We want to hear your tips. John from New York is first up tonight. Go right ahead, John.
Yes, what I do, I go with the neighbor. We share a truck. He drives one week, I drive the next. We're 45 miles away from the center, and we try to take in doctor's appointments while we're on our way.
That's genius advice, right?
Yeah,
I mean, anytime you can share or barter for services, you're on the right track. There's also this sort of movement we have in Wisconsin. I know it's elsewhere around the country, but it's this sort of buy nothing movement. And so people are always saying, well, I've got this set of 4 dining room chairs that I'm not going to use anymore. Could you use them? You know, and somebody will come drop them off on our porch.
Wow.
And I don't ask my wife questions. I just bring them into the house. And then we in turn, right, are putting something else out there. So it's all these ways people are learning. In some ways, it's sort of the old time ways, right, of just sharing amongst each other, whether it's driving to the doctor's office or something you have around the house that you're just not using anymore.
Well, thank you for that call. Next up is Rob from Georgia, and he is our first winner tonight. Congratulations to you, Rob. You are the winner of a new cooler. Go right ahead.
Yeah, I was talking, you guys have already mentioned on the gas savings about the Gas Buddy app, but one of the things that I like to do is layer different savings. So you can use the Gas Buddy app to find like the cheapest station around you. Then you can use an app called Get Upside, where you actually register the credit card that you're paying with, and it'll tell you the gas stations around you that will give discounts for gas purchased. And at the same time, you can use the rewards program of that particular gas station or convenience store and layer those savings so that you not only get the 10 or 15 cents from one of the rewards, but you get the cheaper gas in the same process and some money back on the thing. So layering those different things actually helps save a good bit of fuel. If a Sam's Club or a Costco is not in your area where you can save the most, then you can do it with the apps.
Wow.
Wow, it sounds like Rob's paying like $1 a gallon for gas. I mean, that's an amazing tip. You know, I know Hy-Vee in the Midwest, Hy-Vee is a grocery store, and if you're a member of their fuel club, you put that membership in every time you buy groceries, and you can save 3 to 5 to 10 cents on every gallon of gas that you purchase at a Casey's. So yeah, Rob's right. I mean, there are a lot of ways to save. He has combined, what did I hear, 3 or 4 different programs into one?
I don't know, but I thought you were good, and Rob has you beat 3 times over, I think, on this one. So yeah, that was an awesome call.
I give him props.
Although you did shout out Casey's. Love that Casey's pizza.
Oh.
We're getting some good tips so far. We're just getting started tonight. Ray from Tennessee joins us now. Thanks for joining us, Ray. Go right ahead.
Yes, I found that my wife and I are in the 80s. So we found a way to save money. There's 2 ways we've done that. We've gradually raised the temperature on a thermometer. We raised it a degree at a time, so we're up about 5 degrees higher than we were, and saving on the utility bill. And then we have searched our pantry and found out we had enough food in there to last for a month or so we actually just buy what we have to have. So it works out good for us.
That's a great tip. And, you know, we were talking earlier, so by the way, he stole my last surprise tip, which was going to be to raise the thermostat. But one of the things that I've really figured out recently are room darkening shades. And so if you use room darkening shades, it blocks out the sun, and I'm talking you can drop 4 or 5 degrees by the afternoon just by using room darkening shades. So I think that's a great tip, but also raising the thermostat is another one as well.
This summer's been brutal, but I know that if you just adjust it by a couple degrees, it can make a significant difference. So yeah, that's a great one. Thank you so much for that call, Ray from Tennessee. We appreciate it. You know, as we continue on, we're talking about inflation, what it is, a general increase in prices and a fall in the purchasing power of our money. It's that simple. I know it's kind of a tricky word sometimes, but what happened is inflation soared to a 40-year high of 8.6%. So the federal government, or the Federal Reserve, began to raise interest rates. That's where we are now, slowly seeing these interest rates creep up. Well, that's prompting a sell-off in the stock market. So let's talk about that, because so many of us have seen our 401ks just drop. And I mean, speaking personally, it has been really tough. Now, when you're someone who's living on a fixed income, that makes it even more difficult. So let's continue on with some of these tips, especially pertaining to our senior population.
Well, Brad, I would definitely say that there's some DIY stuff, of course, that you can do. And one of the ways that we sort of look around the household and you say to yourself, what is it that I've got here that I'm going to spend $5 at the store, but I can do it, myself here. So one of the ways we do is start looking at cleaners. So you start looking at things that you need around the house, and there's some really basic ways for you to save money doing that. So for window cleaner, some of us know all of these recipes because our grandmother or mother passed down these ways to save, and we're just now sort of resurrecting them. So for example, for window cleaner, you get this 2 cups of water, half a cup of distilled vinegar, some drops of essential oil. That makes it nice, but not necessary. And you put it in a spray bottle, boom. You've got yourselves window cleaner, really an all-purpose cleaner. Mouthwash, okay? For those of us that like a fresh mouth, you can put sage leaves. Everybody has sage in their herb cabinet and you don't know what to use it for, this is it. So you're gonna put sage in a bottle, and this says Himalayan salt or Celtic sea salt. I think any salt will be fine. If you've got Celtic sea salt, particularly great. Put some boiling water in there, pour it over the leaves, let it soak in. Your mouth will be so fresh, it'll feel like there's a river dance going on in there.
You've done this.
We've done this.
Wow.
Yeah, I am attesting to this. And then oven cleaner, right? It's the same thing. It's just some simple basic ingredients. And so for oven cleaner, you're just talking about baking soda and water. You're making this little paste stuff. You scrape it off. You wipe it off clean. You're good to go rather than buying Easy Off, which is going to cost you $6-7 at the store. So let's just call that some nice DIY tips that'll save you some money at the grocery store, wherever you buy your cleaning products, and you got these low-cost items just sitting around the house anyway.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And I bet you are inspiring our viewing audience to call in with their tips. And we really want to hear from you tonight. Not only are you going to help everybody who wants to save money, you're also going to be in the running for a cooler, and this is a high-quality cooler. So we invite you to call. The number is on your screen. It's 877-283-7570. We're going to go back to the phones in just a moment. Let's talk a little bit about recreation. I went to the website. I did my homework before the show, and of course. I don't waste my time when you gentlemen come to town. Travel and leisure. I thought that these were some great tips. Go off season. Make that vacation plan off season. Have your weekends on Wednesdays and Thursdays. That's another great one because, as you know, hotel prices can be much cheaper during the week than on the weekend. They crank them up. And choose no car needed vacations, a little staycation action, which is literal. You do it at home. Maybe you can go camping outside. That's always fun with the kids or the grandkids. What other ideas do you guys have for recreation?
Well, I heard of one last night, and I don't know if it's in the bulletin or not, but have you heard of Google Flights?
No.
Google Flights apparently now is in competition with some of these other travel apps, but you can find great deals on airfare. I was recently talking to someone who got a trip to Canada for $100 using Google Flights one way, and I think it sounds great. So there are a lot of flight apps out there that you can use to save money. Flying is expensive though right now.
Yeah,
So any way you can try and save on those flights is you should look into.
It's cheaper to cruise as well. I mean, you can get some great cruising if you are willing to take the risk and you know what I mean, do it as safely as possible. But it's a great opportunity right now to get on a cruise for a very reasonable price.
Yeah, but it's very real. You know, I was looking at some of the statistics about how inflation hits rural versus urban communities differently.
So much harder, yeah.
And, you know, prior to 2021, in rural communities, rural families had about 14% of their household income disposable. Like they could use it for entertainment and trips and everything else that are needed. Now in June, July of 2022, it's down to about 10% of their total household income is now available for disposable type things. I mean, that's $2,000 to $3,000 on an annual basis for the average house in rural America that they don't have. That's just disappeared due to inflation. So the impacts are real. We can talk about ways to save $5 or $10, but the impacts on families is real. And as you said, we're having a hard time finding our way out of it. So shows like this help us save in big and small ways, but we know there's a much larger issue out there in rural America.
Yeah, I mean, even if there is a correction to the economy, it's going to take a while. It's not going to have an immediate impact. So we don't know how long we're in this for, which is why we should all start squeezing every bit out of every cent that we can. I believe we have another team tip to share from Laura.
Oh, we do? Oh, let's get to Laura's. What's Laura's team tip today?
Laura's team tip. So here we go. I've got that one.
You got that.
Are we ready? So Laura's team tip is about online shopping. So when making an online purchase, first search the web for promo or coupon codes for that retailer. I do that all the time, by the way. That definitely works. If none can be found, add the item to your shopping cart, fill out your information, but don't check out. Usually within 24 hours, you will get an email with a coupon code, and then you can take a certain percentage off that order. Good tip from Laura. So I haven't done the latter part, but I've definitely gone online to search for those coupons. So good tip from Laura.
Yeah, no, that's really great. So, and we've got more. I mean, do we just keep going and give you some more, or should we hold off on a few?
Let's let Larry offer his tip. He's a winner. Congratulations to you, Larry from Missouri. Thanks for joining our conversation. Go right ahead.
Well, I'm a conservative too, and I don't like to spend any more money than I have to. So my tip is people buying bread. You know, you go to the store and you get the half loaves and all that stuff, which is more expensive. All you can do is buy the store brand bread, and the key word is fresh. Buy it fresh, put it in the freezer, and all you can do is take a slice or two out at a time, whatever you need, put it in a plastic bag. In a few minutes, that thaws out, and you got fresh bread, and you're not throwing anything away. Pastry, the same thing. Fresh donuts, fresh anything. Put it in the freezer when you got it fresh. Get it out, whatever you want, whenever you want it, and it's going to be as fresh as they put it in there.
Larry, Brad needed you to be his neighbor last week when he threw away the Hawaiian rolls because you could have been there to tell him to put those in the freezer and they wouldn't have gone bad, Brad. So
Right on.
Think more like Larry and use the freezer and make sure. I think it's brilliant, right? I mean, it's any fresh items, right? Whether you're purchasing meat, bread products, dairy products, a lot of that can go in the freezer, prevent them from going bad. You know, it's a great idea, Larry in Missouri.
Fantastic. Yeah. Thank you for that, Larry. And you know, you can also think of going with the generic brand instead of the Hawaiian brand. Just a possibility.
Well, and Larry can maybe put those in the cooler that he just won. That's an idea, too.
That's great. See, let's just keep them coming.
There you go.
Kathy from Texas is joining us now. Thanks for joining us, Kathy. Go right ahead.
Well, I just want to thank you, first of all, for all the wonderful tips, especially the Good RX, because I'm going to be retiring, and, you know, my medication plan at work will come to an end, so this sounds like a good thing to look into. But in regard to cooking, I would just recommend, like, if you're going to make a casserole, say lasagna, double up, make 2 of them and freeze one, because some of those ingredients you don't use the rest of the week, so you just use up what you buy. Make good use of your products. That they freeze well. So, but any other type of casserole probably freezes also. But I just know lasagna always works well for us. Huh. So, but I am enjoying your show. Thank you so much.
That's a great tip.
Thanks,
you know, we do that with the Costco mac and cheese too, because that Costco mac and cheese is so giant. Let's take a little bit out. Use it for a side for dinner and then freeze the rest. And so you get about 4 bites at that apple if you freeze it. So Kathy's right on.
That's a great idea as well. And you know what? She's the winner of a cooler. So you can take that frozen lasagna over to a friend's house, a family member's, throw it in the oven. You're treating your friends to dinner. I love that. Congratulations
Those
to
are nice
you,
coolers
Kathy.
too, yeah.
And that leaves a line open for you. We want to hear your tip. We still have coolers to give away. The number to call is 877-283-7570. What cost-saving tips do you have? Everybody has a way. It's funny because we'll spend so much money in one area, but we're really frugal in another. And gas prices is one of those areas. Think about it. Think about where your money is going. And if you watch every cent and where it's going, you're really able to watch how much it has changed, how much that price has gone up. And it's going to help you plan ahead as well if you can gauge that. So that's really what it's about. And you've got those people out there as well that you can't trust. They might be hiking up the prices, taking advantage of the situation. So there's a lot of uncertainty out there right now.
Yeah,
there is.
Yeah.
You know, and I would love to hear people about energy costs. Yes. I don't know if we have time to get into that right now, but I'd love to hear some ways people are saving on energy costs. We've heard some food, but, you know, we talked a little bit about the window shades and rising the thermostat. Well, there are a couple other ways that we can save on energy costs. One is we can install motion detectors. I don't know if you have these, but where you walk into a room and then the light turns off, or the fan, they're connected to a light or a fan, then you walk out and that light goes off and the fan goes off. So you're saving money by not using the light or the fan when you're not in the room. Motion detectors are great. Secondly, we talked about covering your windows in the summer. Also do it in the winter, because if you cover your windows in the winter, that traps the heat in the house so it doesn't exit the windows. So those window blackout curtains work well. And lastly, we talked a little bit about technology, banish power vampires. This is real. So everyone has chargers for everything now, their phones, your iPads, or whatever. Unplug those chargers when you are not using them because they actually suck up energy while they are plugged in, even if they are not being used. And then if you've got a computer or you've got a gaming system or something with a little green light on it, that means it's kind of on. Even if it's off, it's kind of on. Unplug it. You'll save about $100 a year doing something like that, which is real money. So just a couple of tips on energy savings. And again, you'll find this in the AARP bulletin. And I would love to hear from viewers if they have any other tips on energy as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We have the line open right now. We have callers that are kind of telling their stories right now. We're getting a lot of feedback tonight. 877-283-7570. But we always screen the calls before we actually put them on the air. So a little pro tip about how we do things around here. We want to make sure that everything comes across copacetic over the air. So we are going to pause for a quick break after we get one more team tip. I want to hear from Tara. I love Tara. She's a member of the AARP crew. She's a wonderful woman. What's her tip?
Well, Tara, we're going to talk about car repair.
Ooh.
Now, she can't convince me that I could do this, but she's convinced that because she did it herself, She got on YouTube, and there's all the DIY sort of how to watch a video, and then you too can be a car mechanic. And she found one on how to fix a fan motor on her air conditioner. Rather than taking it in the shop, she did it herself.
What?
She saved $1,000. I'm convinced I'd have made the car worse rather than better. But Tara's has me convinced that you too can go on YouTube and find ways to save money in fixing your own vehicle. So I'm inspired by that. I may even actually try it. But Tara, she certainly has a hot tip there when you're talking $1,000 in savings.
And literally
Nice job,
speaking
Tara.
as well. Hot tip. We appreciate that. And you know what? That is pretty cool. You can go on YouTube and find a video for just about anything.
So true.
Yeah, something else you can share with a parent or a loved one who may not be at that technological level just yet, but you know what? We're not turning back. So you might as well take them forward with
That's
you.
right.
All right, we're going to pause for a quick break, but when we come back, we have more coolers to give away, and we're going to get to your calls, 877-283-7570. Share your tips. How are you able to save money on recreation? How are you able to save money maybe on rent? That's the tip we're looking for, the golden ticket. Stay with us. We'll have more right after this break. Welcome back. Well, we have 2 coolers to give away, so we're going to go straight to the phones. Let's go there right now. We're going to go to Maine, New England. Jeff joins us, and Jeff is a winner. Thanks for joining us. Go right ahead.
Yes, I got 2 things. I have a food saver, and you buy the best grade bags, and you vacuum the food, and it'll last for a year or 2 in the freezer. So that works pretty good. You can buy bulk.
So Jeff is right. We do some hunting. I don't know, Sam, if you do hunting in Wisconsin, but when you hunt, you know, you get a lot. Sometimes you have too much pheasant, for example, or you've got a turkey or something. And so by putting them in those high quality freezer bags that Jeff mentioned from Maine, it really does keep it. You could keep it for about a year. And of course, then you're having curried pheasant, you know, come winter, and it's great. So it's a great tip from Jeff.
And sometimes it just sits there for years.
Well, don't call me out on that.
No, but it's a good time right now to break out the old pheasant, you know? It's still good. It's a great time to find creative ways to cook up what's in your freezer, what's in your pantries. That's fantastic. And that leaves a line open for you. What tips do you have? How do you save money? Especially if you have grandkids or kids that you like to treat, it can be very difficult when you're on a budget and we want to do so much for our kids. So what do you do? Let us know. The number to call is 877-283-7570. We're going to go to North Carolina. James joins the conversation now. Go right ahead, James. James? Well, we're having a little bit of trouble here. Oh, there he is.
Here we go.
Go ahead, James. EJ from Texas. Are you
Good evening. This is BJ Benefield in Lockhart, Caldwell County, Texas, and I have a good saving tip. Put a box fan between your cooling or your heating and you. And it works so well, you could use it for the bedroom when you go to bed. You can use it when you're sitting and watching Rft-Tv. And a while ago, I cut mine off because I got cold, and the room was just cool. It works. And another thing is some cities will give you a box fan, a free box fan, if you're a senior citizen or disabled or elderly. Well, that's a senior citizen. And also, some states have programs like Texas does for lower-income people and people that are needy and need it. You can get on a program that will give you an air conditioner. And some states even pay part of your electric bill. But you have to apply, so you contact that state for information.
Yeah, your state public service commissions, your public utilities commission, whatever it is in your home state, they'll often have low-income heating and cooling assistance programs. There are community groups that also have assistance that can provide, you know, whether it may be a low or no cost air conditioner or box fan. And if there's one thing I'm going to follow for advice is if somebody from Texas has a tip on how to stay cool, I'm using it. So,
in the middle of a heat wave,
yeah,
got too cold.
So if he's too cold in Texas, I'm listening to everything BJ has to say about saving money and staying cool. So that's a great tip.
I love the box fan tip. You know, because in my house, I don't know if it's true with you all, but the upstairs is so much hotter than the downstairs.
Yeah.
And so I had never heard the box fan tip. That's a great idea. I'll take that home.
We're going to go back to the Lone Star State. Brenda from Texas joins us now. Thanks for joining us. Brenda, what's your tip?
Oh, okay. Well, my tip is, I love the box fan tip. We actually have a box fan on our rabbit outside because it's so hot here in Texas, East Texas. So our rabbit is staying cozy with the box fan.
Wow.
But my energy tip is that I'm hanging clothes out on a clothesline. And, of course, I'm in the country, but I do have neighbors, but, you know, kind of we're in the woods. But I hang my clothes out, and they're dry in 20 minutes. I mean, it's amazing how fast clothes are drying outside. I hate to turn my dryer on. So that's one tip to save energy is, you know, hang your clothes out. And another thing I've gotten in the habit of asking myself, when I'm shopping, do I need this? You know, do I really need this? Because things here are just extremely expensive. Everything is expensive. And I have found 9 times out of 10, I'll put it down. I don't really need it. So it's just a mindset, you know, trying to see what you really do need or don't need.
That's a great tip. You had a tip on laundry earlier today when we were talking.
Oh, yeah, I did have one on laundry when we were talking about it over lunch. A lot of people still think that you have to wash your clothes in sort of warm or hot waters, depending on the color. That is from a day gone by, right? I mean, the new laundry detergents these days are good for cold water in as much as they were for warm or hot water. And if you don't have to make that water heater work, you're saving money every time. So, yeah, cold water is great. Putting the laundry out, it's so simple, right? Some of these things are so simple, and we forget that some of those simple tips are the most effective ones. I've got another one. We might have another caller. You know, one of the things that I read was if you have a family night that you usually go out to the restaurant one night a week, or you have a date night, you know, usually it's on a Friday or a Saturday night. Move your date night or your family night to a Tuesday or a Wednesday. Most often restaurants will offer kids eat free on Tuesdays or Wednesdays, or they'll have 2-for-1 specials. And not that you want the person you're taking out to think you're cheap, but in this day and age, right, if you can move those things around to save a little money and still have fun, I'm all for it.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. Thank you so much for that call. We appreciate it. Mary from Nebraska joins the conversation now. Go right ahead, Mary.
Hello. My tip is not great cost savings, but it is somewhat helpful in that I have some recipes that only use a tablespoon of tomato paste, and then I don't know what to do with the rest of the container.
Right.
So I have discovered that if I take that and I go ahead and portion it out in tablespoons and separate it on a plastic wrap and then twist between those and put that in a Ziploc, then I can use those later and don't throw away the whole container of tomato sauce. Because if you freeze that whole chunk, then you have to thaw it out to get a tablespoon.
That's a great tip.
I mean, I feel like a mystery of life has just been solved of the last 40 years. Where was this tip a long time ago, Mary? That is genius, right? Because you always throw away the rest of the can.
So she has like a sausage roll of multiple twisted tablespoons
dabs of tomato paste.
Just
Brilliant.
enough.
It makes 100% sense.
I hate
what
throwing
she
away
needs.
those cans.
Yeah, it's tough. Just wasting food.
It's terrible.
The food that our hardworking farmers produce for us, the last thing we want to do is throw it away knowing that people are hungry in other parts of the world as well. You know what, Mary, you're a winner. Congratulations.
She
thank you for
deserves
that
that cooler.
tip. Yeah, thank you so much for calling in. We're going to go back to the phones in just a moment, but this has been such an enlightening conversation because you feel like you're doing your best. You know what I mean? You feel like you're watching your budget, you're putting your money in the right places, but there's so much more that we can do and so much that you can save when you're really watching it and taking advantage of these tips. How can people access this 99 ways to save if they want the hard copy?
Well, if they want the hard copy, well, the easiest way is going to be go online, right? Go to aerp.org, like we always tell folks. Any of the resources that we're talking about on the show, you're going to be able to find there. Great resources for anybody. Of course, if you're an AERP member, it's coming in your mailbox. If not, we always try to make all of our resources available to everyone. And so, yeah, check out aerp.org. Look for our AERP bulletin link. We will make sure that you have 99 great ways to save in addition to the dozen or more we've offered up tonight on this show. So lots of different ways to save.
Another one I really thought was interesting was to order online, groceries, for example, because what you might lose in delivery cost often is more than made up by avoiding impulse purchases when browsing a store, especially when you're hungry in the grocery store. If you're me, you make some pretty impulsive decisions, and that ends up driving up the price. And then sometimes you end up not even eating all that food that you bought. So I thought that was interesting, as well as the fact that now online, at like a Kroger.com, the coupons are right there for you. So you're just going click, click, click. You can see what everything is that's available for you where you can save money. So I love that.
Well, and we've talked a lot about technology, and there's that Flip app that I had mentioned earlier. There's online grocery shopping. And so I want folks to understand, too, if you need help with technology, there is help out there. And there are a couple things you can do. Number one is you could always ask a young person, right? And I do that, and there's no shame in that. But number two is you can contact your AARP state office, because we do put on programs that help people better use their smartphones, better use their remote controls, for example, for their television sets. And so there are events that we have where we can teach people, usually at a local library, or there are virtual events that you can log into to learn kind of how to do this stuff. But don't think because we're talking about apps and we're talking about online grocery shopping, don't think I can't do that, because you can. And there's help out there to help you through this.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you like to go old school, here's another great tip. Use the self-checkout, because then you're really aware as you're scanning those items one by one, how much they cost, how much you're paying. You can really tell that way as well how much prices have gone up. And I think that's a great tip as well. So, 99 of these tips are available to you. 99. Make Thursday a pantry cooking night. You dedicate one night a week to digging in the pantry and making something delicious. And online, there's a lot of options, a lot of recipes out there.
That would have been good for those Hawaiian rolls.
That would have been great if you'd have just planned, Brad.
Okay, we're going to go back to the phones. Henry from Alabama joins us. Thanks for joining us, Henry. Go right ahead.
I actually use my credit card for all my purchases, get the cash back. It pays off if you pay it, every month on time.
Yeah. Well, and you know what else he's doing is protecting himself from fraud.
Yeah.
Because using your credit card as opposed to your debit card really does protect you from scammers, and you can get that money back if it actually is stolen from you. So that's a great tip on a number of levels.
It's a great tip. A lot of cards, they'll do 1%, 2% back on all purchases, but a lot of credit cards as well, if you go onto the website and let's say you're paying your bill, they'll pick 40 or 50 different retailers or vendors where if you use your credit card with them, you'll get another 3, 4, 5% back on your purchase. And so let's say you're going to buy a pair of shoes. Well, you can choose the spot that your credit card has an extra incentive to purchase, and you may get 5% more back. So that's absolutely right. Using your credit card for what rewards it has and what rewards it can get you by using it at specific retailers big help.
Huge help. And you know, you brought up a really good point about the fraudsters as well, because as we know, when we see economic downturn, that's when crime levels tend to go up. And so the fraudsters are out there, they're really trying to look for ways of income themselves, so they might be trying harder. We've really got to look out for ourselves. I'm sure AARP is going to be back with a Fraud Watch show pretty soon.
Next month.
I can't wait. I'm excited about that. Some of our most highly watched shows are the fraud shows, so that I look forward to that. You know, I was looking at online shopping tips as well. Get Prime Day deals is on there. That means that those Prime Day deals are actually worth it. I always take my one day. I mean, they usually extend it out a few days now, but I go online and check out those Prime Day deals. Delete your saved credit card information. So this falls in line with what we were just talking about. That's an important part as well, because online retailers want it to be as easy as possible for you to check out, but adding a few steps to the process may make you less likely to give in to impulse purchases.
I feel a trend with you, Christina, that impulse buying might be an issue because you've really keyed in on a couple of those. So
shame on me. You know, I try to go for the deals, but I'm making mistakes. Just like we had a caller tonight. Do I really need that? I'm not asking myself that often enough. It's tough.
It is tough.
Or does my kid need that? Does my son need that? Probably not.
My kids always claim they need all of it, all the time. And it's a constant debate of walking them through that process.
Yeah, okay. Well, you know what? We only have a few moments left. We had some fantastic calls tonight. Thank you so much for being a part of this show. I wanted to give you both an opportunity to share your final thoughts with us.
Well, I want to go back to where we started. That it's both the expenditures, what you're buying, but it's also how you're budgeting and savings. And at AARP, we have another really great tool called Money Map, and moneymap.aarp.org is where you can go to. It will help you figure out a better budget and savings plan if you don't have one already. I know we were talking to the production team for the show earlier. They each had a different budget app that they used as well. So there's a lot of tools out there, not just the one AARP has, but if you really need to get a handle on how you're spending your money, there's some really great resources out there as well.
Absolutely. And what are your final thoughts for us tonight, Brad?
You know, I think we've talked a lot about various ways to save money, and you need to really do what works for you. So you shouldn't really stress out about this. Obviously, these are stressful times for millions of Americans. And we talked about the fact that it will get better at some point. And so we need to remember that. It will get better. But in the meantime, do what works for you. If you're say, I don't want to use apps, but you know, I can get those freezer bags pretty easily, or I've got a box fan and I can, that's great, right? But on our, in this bulletin, there are 99 ways to save. Certainly there's something that fits everybody. So go in and check it out.
Yeah, I love it. Get It Free is one of the sections, and national park admission, to take your family to a national park. Museum admission, you can find out what free options they have. Usually there's a designated day. City tours, travel housing, sign up at housecareers.com. And you can actually stay rent-free in homes all over the globe. So there's so many options available. I really encourage you to check it out. What's that website one more time where people can find this guide?
Moneymap.aarp.org. And it's a really effective tool. We really want people to look at that, and the 99 ways to save, and the bunches of ways that Brad and you and our listeners have also mentioned to save as well. So a lot of great tools coming out of this show for sure.
Yeah, it's a tough time. There's so many things out there, so many outside forces impacting us right now. The more peace of mind that you can have, knowing that you're at least trying your best, putting every dollar in the right place, I think that's fantastic. And I really respect AARP for helping us get through this tough time, and for being here with such a timely topic. I mean, you couldn't have picked a better show theme for tonight. So, next month you said we're talking about fraud, right?
I believe
so.
Okay.
Yes, we are.
I can't wait. We get a lot of questions about fraud. You might want to start thinking about yours now. That about does it for tonight. Be sure to join us next month right here on AARP Live. Thanks for joining us.